Hello there, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a very interesting episode of the Penguins of Madagascar series that I've thankfully, finally been able to see, which is called The Return of the Revenge of Dr. Blowhole. Now this episode is, it's actually part 1 and part 2, and the first Revenge of Dr. Blowhole doesn't have a part 1 or part 2, but I do believe that it's longer than most of the episodes of the Penguins, but it doesn't have a part 1 or part 2, so I think the Return of the Revenge of Dr. Blowhole is longer since it has 2 parts to it, so I think it's even longer than the other one, I think. But anyway, so yes, I got this movie for Christmas, and I am so glad that I finally got to see it, because I was really curious about it, because I know that Skipper loses his memory, and of all animals that he gets stuck with to help him, it's one of the main 4, and I'll get more into that in a minute, so yeah. Okay, so here's my review of The Return of the Revenge of Dr. Blowhole. So, the episode begins when Skipper, for some reason, goes on a mission by himself, and the other penguins talk about this later on. But anyway, so Skipper goes on a mission for some reason by himself, and he runs into Hans, and according to Hans, Blowhole had helped him escape the zoo that he once lived in, which is apparently a terrible zoo that Skipper sent him to. But anyway, so Blowhole takes Skipper's memories with this thing that's on his, it's installed in his, scooter thing that he has to ride on, and he takes Skipper's memories, and Skipper falls into the water, and he ends up washing up on this island, which I'll get more to that in a minute, because next we go to the penguins. And so Marlene, the only girl animal character, really the only girl character at all in the show, goes to see the penguins because Kowalski's invention blew up, and Marlene's like, when Skipper sees this, he's not gonna like this, because Kowalski's invention had made a big mess. But anyway, so she asks, where is Skipper anyway, because she didn't see him. And Rika thinks that he's asleep, but then it's revealed that Skipper was not in his bed, which Rico and, of course, Marlene didn't know, but Kowalski and Private did know. And in this episode, we really see that emotional attachment that Rico has to Skipper, because I read, in fact, I even mentioned it when I talked about Rico, that Rico has an emotional attachment to Skipper. I think I even mentioned that when I talked about Skipper, but I know I talked about it when I reviewed Rico. So anyway, Kowalski and Private explained to Marlene that sometimes Skipper goes on missions by himself, and Marlene's like, okay, so he goes on missions by himself for whatever reason, and you guys have no idea where he's going or why, and you're not even worried about him. And then Kowalski says that Skipper can take care of himself, which that's when we see that Skipper had washed up on this island. And Skipper has no memories at all. He doesn't know who he is or really anything. And of course we also see Blowhole and him getting his plan together, and he actually also discovers some secrets of the penguins, which I really think that since there was a part 2 to this, I really feel like they should have maybe gotten a little bit deeper into Skipper's memories, like have certain things revealed about him that are only revealed in this episode. Just, oh my goodness. The possibilities of things they could have revealed about Skipper and the penguins due to Blowhole having Skipper's memories it's just so endless. They really could have gotten more into that. I mean, I know that's not the main thing, but I think it really would have been interesting if they had revealed stuff of Skipper, like certain memories of his, like some really secret stuff that not even Kowalski, Rico, or Private even knows about. That would have been so cool if Blowhole had found out something like that, but I guess, of course, for Skipper, that probably would have been really embarrassing, but that would have been so cool if they had revealed, like, maybe nothing really top secret, but just something that we didn't know about Skipper or the other penguins. That really would have been awesome. But anyway, so Blowhole finds out a few things about Skipper, which is really just stuff we already know. Like, there's this one episode where Kowalski keeps his juice serum in a hot sauce bottle, which we already knew that, but that's something that Blowhole discovers in this episode. And I just wish that they had revealed something that we didn't know. that would have been so cool. But anyway, so later that night on the island, Skipper imagines this penguin that's in the show. He's some kind of really crazy spy that takes things too far. And he imagines him because apparently Skipper, since he has no memories and he's alone, he needs someone to help him out. So he needs, as the show says, a spirit guide. He needs someone to guide him. And apparently it's not going to be this penguin, which is kind of interesting because I know that Skipper, he knows a lot about this penguin, and he even mentions, I believe, in the first episode that this character's in, where he says that he's modeled his life after this guy, which explains a lot about Skipper due to how this other penguin is. But anyway, so apparently it's not going to be him that's going to be helping Skipper. It's going to be somebody else. And we actually even meet a monkey that apparently Skipper and the others, or at least Skipper, had followed his, training somewhat. But I still think there's more to how Skipper and the others, learned all that interesting stuff. But just knowing about this monkey now is pretty interesting. But anyway, so this monkey's also not going to be the one helping Skipper. And out of all the characters in Madagascar to help Skipper, for some reason, one of the main four was chosen, Alex the lion. And I don't know why he was chosen. In fact, later on in the episode, Skipper's even like, why were you chosen? In fact, I think he actually says this a few times, like, why in the world were you chosen? But anyway, so yeah, Alex was the one to help Skipper. So anyway, Blowhole then realizes that Skipper's alive, and he fires his missile at him, and when this missile comes at Skipper, Alex is able to help Skipper avoid it by, dancing, which that's actually kind of reminds me of something Julian would do, but, that actually would have been interesting if it had been Julian, if Julian had been nosy and followed Skipper and he ended up helping him. And now that actually, I think, would have made more sense and would have been more interesting, because Skipper, 1, doesn't like Julian. 2, Julian could have helped Skipper with that little dancing scene. I mean, sure, Alex does really well, but I think that actually would have made more sense if it was Julian, come to think of it, because, again, Skipper doesn't know who he is, so he obviously wouldn't remember that he doesn't like Julian. And Julian would have just gotten on his nerves, because Alex actually gets on his nerves, but Julian would have definitely got on his nerves. So I really think that they should have had Julian be his spirit guide instead of Alex. But anyway, so Blowhole thinks that he had hit Skipper and that Skipper's gone forever, which thankfully that's not the case. It's actually also funny because Alex says to Skipper that he could be like a dancer or something. You know, he did really well with that. And Skipper doesn't like the idea of this, and I think it's really interesting because even though Skipper's memories are gone, his personality is not. So he may have lost his memories, but he did not lose his personality, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, so Blowhole then explains his plan, or a part of his plan, that is, to one of his minions, which is this lobster. In fact, all of his minions are lobsters. So anyway, he shows him this machine that turned this little bunny into this big ugly monster, and just like David had tried to do in the Penguins movie, Blowhole plans on turning Kowalski, Rico, and Private into monsters. And so, yeah, he has a kind of a similar plan to Dave in the Penguins movie, in a way. But anyway, so Alex helps Skipper get back to New York, and it's actually interesting because Skipper, he builds a raft, and when they're on this raft, Alex is trying to help Skipper remember how to get back home because for some reason, or, well, I guess because he's a penguin, Skipper wants to go back to Antarctica. And Alex is like, no, you need to go back to New York. That's where you live. That's where your brothers are, or your team. You need to go back there. And it's actually interesting because for some reason Skipper doesn't remember Kowalski, Rico, or Private, but he does remember these two penguins that were on his team. And apparently they are very, like, accent prone, I guess, because Skipper's all the time talking about different things that happened to them. And these characters have actually been revealed to be alive, but Skipper, I guess, doesn't know that. And he all the time talks about different things that happened to them. So it's funny that he remembers them, but not his own brothers, which is crazy. But, yeah, apparently Blowhole didn't take every memory since he did remember them. And for some reason, Skipper also remembers snow cones, which does lead to him remembering more. But, yeah, apparently Blowhole didn't take everything from Skipper, so that's good. But I must say, this really is a interesting episode. But anyway, so later on, Julian's after Julian's in 3P player, I think that's what they call it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the battery goes dead, and Julian tries to get some batteries for it, but the batteries in the gift shop are not the right ones. So Maurice suggests him talking to Kowalski, and he sees this gadget that Kowalski makes, or had made, and it kind of resembles a battery, so Julian plans on taking it, and he actually does take it, and the penguins are able to get it away from him, and Kowalski puts it in a safe place. And Julian, he can't sleep that night, so he plans on taking it. And it's actually interesting because Maurice actually tells Julian that stealing is wrong, and I'm like, finally you tell him no, finally. Because when I talked about Maurice, I mentioned how, actually even in the episode, when I even talked about the episode The Helmet, I mentioned how Maurice just doesn't tell Julian no. He just doesn't have the backbone he needs to tell him no. But I feel like he was starting to get that, or did have it at least in that one episode, and I'm like, finally, why couldn't you keep that up? And just tell him no when he's wrong. I think that was good though that Maurice did at least say that one time in the show, although I haven't seen all the episodes yet, but at least I have seen one episode in the Penguin series, at least that I can think of right now, where Maurice says no. So yeah, that was good, finally. But anyway, so Julian takes Kowalski's gizmo and puts it in his M3P player, his little music player thing, and Blowhole comes and he is about to zap the penguins, turning them into monsters like Dave was going to do in the Penguins movie. And the Blowhole's thing actually zaps Julian's M3P player, and it causes everyone to speak in song. And Kowalski even explains through song, since they're stuck in song, that due to Blowhole's thing, plus his own gizmo in Julian's M3P player, so Kowalski's gizmo, Blowhole's thing, and Julian's M3P player put together caused this thing to cover the zoo and caused everyone to speak in song. And apparently it zaps you if you sing off key, and most of the animals in the zoo cannot sing. But I think some did pretty good, like Marlene and Maurice. I think they sang pretty good. But Blowhole, who actually has an amazing voice, he is able to sing and gets control of this gizmo. And thankfully, Alex and Skipper arrive in New York, and on the way there we see Skipper getting irritated with Alex, and it's actually really interesting, again, why he was chosen. And I honestly think it would have been better if Julian had been chosen, but yet I guess this thing with the N3P player obviously wouldn't have worked if Julian had been with Skipper, but I don't know, something maybe similar might have worked, but anyway, so Skipper finally arrives, and apparently he actually never really gets his memories back, like Blowhole never gives them back to him, so, which I figured that somehow Skipper would get his memories back, which he does, but, it's actually kind of interesting, because I really expected, like, that gizmo that took Skipper's memories to give them back, but that actually never happens, but Skipper does seem to get his memories back, which is really interesting. So I kind of wonder, does Blowhole still have all of the Penguin's secrets? So that's really interesting. Although I don't think so, because I know that Blowhole's, I know in another episode, Blowhole, his, lab, or not lab, a hideout, gets destroyed, and so he probably doesn't have that anymore, but he might have had it for a while. I don't know. I'm telling you, plot holes. I feel like they make more plot holes than they filled them. They made more plot holes than they filled them, is what I should say. But anyway, so Skipper returns, and they actually have Julian sing, which Julian actually did really good, voice-wise, with singing to get the thing to come to them so they could stop Blowhole. And the plan actually doesn't work very well, but I kind of don't really understand, since Julian was, the thing was coming to Julian. I kind of don't know why Julian didn't just somehow destroy it. But anyway, that doesn't work so well, so they have to think of something else. And Skipper's actually the one that sings, and he sings to distract Blowhole so the other penguins can destroy the thing, and Kowalski's able to get out his invention, and they erase Blowhole's memories and take him back to the aquarium where he had his accident. And they even show this hoop of fire, which they called the Ring of Fire, which is what caused Blowhole to be the way he is. And apparently it even gave him a scar, because you can see a scar on his eye. And that's why he also has a robotic eye, because I'm guessing he lost his real one. So, yeah. Now, I kind of wish they hadn't taken him back there, but I guess they didn't know where else to take him. But, yeah, I think that was kind of a little messed up that they took him back where that accident happened. But anyway, yes, this is a pretty good episode, and I honestly thought that there was going to be singing throughout it, because I know that I had heard that there was some songs in it, and there's actually no songs in the first part, only in the second part, so there's not singing throughout it, there's only singing at the end. So, yeah. And it's also weird because Hans appears at the beginning, but he's not seen through most of the episode. So it's like he just vanishes afterwards. You know, he's only seen at the very beginning and at another part, and then that's it. And, yeah, not just because of Hans's weird disappearance and them taking Blowhole back to where he had his accident, which again I feel like was kind of messed up, but yeah, overall this was a pretty good episode, and I still don't kind of understand why Alex was the one that was chosen to help Skipper, I guess, because, well, Skipper does mention that he was probably the one because, you know, he knows the city. Which does make sense, but I still think it would have been interesting if it had been Julian. That really would have been funny. But anyway, overall, this is a pretty good episode, and sorry that this review's so long. I have a lot to say about this one, plus it is longer. It's the only episode that has a part 2, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'm so glad I finally got to see this episode. Even though it wasn't quite what I expected, but overall, it's pretty good. So anyway, stay tuned for more. Bye.